Hi, welcome or welcome back to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Mariandrea, and this is Thursday night poetry. It's Thursday, it's nighttime, it's dark, and it's late, and I am here to read poetry. So, in celebration of Yagast, the reading event that Sui at Sui's Book Banter and I are co hosting in the month of August, in which we are celebrating the joy of reading YA literature and coming of age stories. Um, I am going to read some young adult literature or um, poetry written for young adults. I'm excited. I hope you are too. So, I want to start with this collection. I've mentioned this recently in a couple of videos, but this is one of my favorite um, favorite collection in my collection of YA literature. This is an anthology edited by Margarita Longoria. Margarita Longoria is a local to me author. She is Texan. And the title of this anthology is Living Beyond Borders Growing Up Mexican in America. You know, if you have watched Selena, the movie, you know there's that scene in Selena where um, Mr. Quintanilla, played by Edward James Olmos, is driving Selena and I think Suzette in the car. And so they're driving down the Texas highway, and Edward James Olmos gives that soliloquy of what it means to be Mexican American. You got to speak Spanish and you have to speak English. You have to know Christina and you have to know Oprah. You have to be able to be fluent in two cultures and two languages, and it's exhausting, and it really is when you're code switching like that constantly. But I really like this collection because it speaks to that notion of what it is like to live in duality and to live between cultures. And um, I love it so much. Anyway, I could go on and on about this. So this book contains short stories, essays, poetry, um, like there's even like comic part of it, like a story in cartoon form or comic form. Um, and I want to read a poem from here. And this poem is called La Migra, and it is written by Rene Saldana Jr. Um, La Migra is what we call ICE nowadays. Um, immigration, immigration enforcement is La Migra. So this is La Migra by Rene Saldana Jr. We are boys, so at the sight of their white trucks stirring up dust in the distance, we scamper like cockroaches. Just like that, in no minutes flat, they're right up on us, the words on the back panels easy to read, U.S. Border Patrol in green. They step out the air-conditioned trucks, men in green uniforms carrying guns at the ready, cowboys of the New West, always on the lookout for mojaditos, brown wetbacks, whose hair and skin and eyes are brown like mine, whose crime is to want to work in the fields alongside our mothers and fathers, whose only dream it is for their children to play marbles or hopscotch with us, all of us, free and brown and laughing, all of us running to hide from La Migra. next, I have this collection by Pat Mora. It's My Own True Name, New and Selected Poems for Young Adults. Pat Mora is I think she's a classic in, a classic author, a classic storyteller, a classic historian, cultural historian in Latinx literature. Um, I'll read a little bit about this collection and about Pat. So um, this collection, it's dated 1984 to 1999. Says readers of all ages have long admired Pat Mora's extraordinary literary gifts. Her poems and prose works alike written for both adults and younger readers have received awards and critical acclaim for their grace, luminosity, and craftsmanship. In this anthology, Pat Mora has gathered the best of her poems with young adult readers in mind and has added to them several new poems published here for the first time. Using the cactus plant as her guiding metaphor for our existence, she presents more than 60 lyrics grouped variously into blooms, thorns, and roots. Each section opens with a line drawing by artist Anthony Accardo, and the whole is prefaced by a brief introduction, "Dear fellow writer," in the poet's uniquely warm and informal voice. Much like a blossoming young man or woman, My Own True Name has been 15 years in the making, and lovers of poetry will find it like a lovingly tended garden, an eye-opening and delightful place to enjoy and explore. A native of El Paso, Pat Mora grew up in a bilingual home, a world reflected in her numerous volumes of poetry and prose, and more than a dozen books for children. The mother of 3 grown children, she now divides her time between Kentucky and the southwestern United States. I don't know if that's still true about Pat, but this book was published in 2000. I like the dedication here. It says, "To young writers of all shapes, colors, and sizes, may you write many surprising poems. And to the staff of Arte Público Press who have treated me so kindly through the years." So I picked these 2 poems from here because I think that they reminded me of the Books and Bocadillos book club book, that the selection for this month that I just finished reading this week. And that book, that is the book club selection for this month of August, is Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Pérez. And I just finished it, and I think that these poems reminded me of that book, and I'll talk more about that book. I'll post about it soon. I'm trying to collect my thoughts. I did already sprinkle some thoughts in the Discord, if you're following along there. Okay, so the first one is First Love, because Out of Darkness is a book about it's a love story between 2 protagonists. So Wash is an African American boy, and Naomi is a Mexican girl. And this happens in 1934, and it takes place in East Texas, and there is racial segregation in East Texas, and it is not okay for whites and black children to be friends, to much less to date or to marry. So the schools are segregated, and Naomi is considered colored because she's Mexican, and Wash is black, and they know the rules of racial segregation. So this poem here is First Love because as I was reading about Naomi and Wash, I was endeared by the notion of a first love. First love. Her brown eyes circle, round me circle, though she weaves far away by a fire, her eyes dart round me like gold butterflies. Wherever I look, wherever I run, they chase me like I chased her round Griosote, circling boulders, her laugh light as dandelion plumes. Now her eyes play tricks, hover, as I sketch in the sand, as I scramble to my secret place, hover, as I slowly paint two eyes on a cave with ochre and yucca brush. Below, my laughing friends wrestle, race, call my name, but I hide, watching her, eyes circle, circle. If you're reading or you've read Out of Darkness, you know that there's some parts of this that really resonate with that story of Wash and Naomi. Then the next one also reminds me of Wash and Naomi, and this is titled Tree Wisdom. Its steady claws dig deep, center it. 10 of us can't budge its weathered, stubborn trunk. Yet its limbs are moved by every brush of flesh, feather, fur. Even a baby's breath starts a shiver, shimmering into the drowsy steam. Those limbs, like moon-drunk flamenco gypsies, stretch their gold, green, and garnet bangles into wind. Whales whirl wild when thunder claps. Still a tree moves, trembles at the invisible. Without lungs or lips, whispers or howls. In wise rhythm a tree retreats, strips to feed itself. But when the sap springs, a tree's bones burn green. How it swells then, a mass of praise, a tree surprises itself, year after year, climbs its rings, climbs itself. And then lastly, the collection I want to read from is this one here. I've read from before during other Poetry Thursday evenings. This one is Plantains and Our Becoming, poems by Melania Luisa Marte. Or Marte. Well, let me read a little bit about the author. I may have read it before, but I've had some new subscribers. So if this is your first time with me on a Poetry Thursday episode, then I want to read a little bit about this collection. From the back. One, this collection is blurbed by Elizabeth Acevedo, and if you've been here on my channel for a little while, you know I love blurbs. So Elizabeth Acevedo is an author I really enjoy reading, and she writes a full-throated war cry, both a request for anointment and the responding bendición. And this is what this says. We children of plátanos always gotta learn to play in everyone else's backyard and somehow feel at home. In this imaginative, blistering poetry collection, poet and musician Melania Luisa Marte looks at the identities and histories of the Dominican Republic to Haiti to celebrate and center the Black diasporic experience through the exploration of themes like self-love, nationalism, displacement, generational trauma, and ancestral knowledge. This collection uproots stereotypes while creating a new, joyous vision for Black identity and personhood. She asks of herself and her readers, what does it mean to tend to your own words and your own record to build upon the legacies of your ancestors? Moving from New York to Texas to the Dominican Republic and to Haiti, Plantains and Our Becoming examines the legacies of colonialism and racism, but never shies away from highlighting the beauty and joy that comes from celebrating who you are and where you come from. Melania Luisa Marte is an American writer, poet, and musician from New York. Her viral poem, Afro Latina, was featured by Instagram on their IGTV for National Poetry Month and has garnered more than 9 million views. Her work has also been featured by Ain't I Latina, Afro Punk, The Root, Teen Vogue, Telemundo, Remezcla, Pop Sugar, and elsewhere. She currently lives with her partner and child between the Dominican Republic and Texas. And I really love Melania Luisa's poetry. So the first one I want to read here, the first poem, is titled Immigrant Math Problem. If I give Mama 5,000 pesos and Mama gives 3,000 pesos to Tío for groceries and gas, and Tío gives 1,000 pesos to La Colmadera for food, 500 pesos to El Pompeador for gas, and 500 pesos to his son, and La Colmadera gives 200 pesos to her daughter for motoconcho fare to ride to school, and El Pompeador gives 300 pesos to his wife for breakfast and dinner ingredients, and Mama leaves 2,000 pesos for a small emergency and keeps X amount of pesos in some nook and cranny that she calls a bank. And the bank is her home because she says the real bank that's owned by the government is unsafe. And at least in her home, she keeps the money buried right next to her loaded gun. And how much more money do you think we will collectively need to erase the centuries of disenfranchisement that plagues us? A note here, Mommy and Mama have always taught me money is like a waterfall for people like us. It must trickle down or else some of us will drown of thirst. I want a math problem that will teach me to make enough to save us all. And then second one, this love, and this is my last one, this love, a tragedy. There is a hypocrisy that shackles me, one that keeps me up at night. It is as much my truth as it is my fear. This tragedy, old and lonesome. I want what does not want me. America could be mine, but what's the use in loving such an ungrateful lover? And that is all for my Thursday night poetry. Thank you so much for watching. Hasta la próxima.